All right, so for the first time in my life, I made over $1 million in a single year with a single company. Now, I don't make this video to tell you that I'm better than you, even if I am. I make this video because I'm going to share with you the 7 key things that I learned this year that allowed me to take my company from 6 figures to 7 figures and beyond. Just a little backstory. I've been in this space for about 6 to 7 years. For the first about 4 to 5 years, I was making about 15 to 25K per month. Then last year I shot up to that 70, 80, 100K per month. And then this year we have been well over 100K per month every single year. Last year we did about $600,000 to $700,000 at the end of the year, and this year it's written in and around a bit over 2 million. So in this video, like I said, I'm going to share with you these 7 key things. There's going to be no edits, no cuts, nothing like that. If I screw up, I won't cut it or anything else. Just going to be like an honest, raw talk about the raw truth, I guess you could say, of taking a company and going from 6 to 7 figures. So the first thing that I learned the hard way is that scaling fucking hurts. Like, scaling is probably one of the most painful things that you can do in business, because when you're like comfortable, right? Like where I was last year, right? We're, making like 50, 60, 70 grand per month, mainly off an organic following, really comfortable with my systems and whatnot, high profit margins, like you're just kind of living life, right? Now, the thing that I didn't really understand, which was like to go from making, 50K a month to like 250K per month, you actually make less money in the entire scaling process, which like just sucks, because essentially what you do, and like what we chose to do was, we were like, okay, let's choose a really scalable method, right? And yes, you can go viral on social media. Like, sure you can. But if you want like a predictable scale, like predictable, easy way to scale a company, like you have to do paid ads, right? Now, the problem with like paid ads is like, when you spend money on paid ads, for the first like 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week, 5 week, whatever the case may be, however long your sales cycle is, you're just like losing money every single second, right? And so you literally have to like say, okay, I'm just gonna spend like $1,000 per day and not make anything for like 2 weeks, and then like hopefully I will start closing people. Now, unless you like really suck at advertising and really suck at sales and are just clueless, like you will start closing people, right? But your first time going through this, like you don't really understand it, right? And then all of a sudden you see like what's in your owner's comp account or like your profit account and all that kind of stuff. And like, instead of like taking it for yourself and like just, living your life or investing or, doing whatever you want to do with it, you just like give it to Mark Zuckerberg, right? And the thing is that you have to keep doing this every single month, right? And so this feeling that you have as a beginner where it's like, oh shit, am I going to make enough money? Finances are tight, like all that kind of stuff. Like, that doesn't go away. It's just, instead of worrying about like 2K a month, 3K a month, you're worrying about like 100K per month, right? Like, we actively spend over $100,000 per month on our team, our ads, our like everything that we're doing, right? So you might sit here and be like, oh, Dylan, like, it must suck to make 250. But you have to understand that, like, if we aren't making, like, I have to make $100-ish thousand dollars per month before I get to actually make $1, right? And that's like it's one of the scarier things that you have to go through as you go through that, right? And it's just like this constant like fear of like, oh, like, if your closer quits, or if anything happens, and it's like, no, I'm not gonna have anybody to, close these deals or service these clients or whatever the case may be, right? And it's just this like constant like ball of stress that you just live with as you're scaling companies from, the 6 figures to 7 figures. Now, the good thing is that once you got it to a point where you want it, and our next goal is $1 million a year, so we're so far from there, and we're like, this is actively every single day of my life right now. But once you get it to the point where you're like, okay, this is where I want to be, then you can go in and you can, optimize your profit margins and, cut unnecessary expenses and all that kind of stuff. But in order to like really scale, you just have to like messily scale. You just like spend money on like stuff. Like, you're just like always spending money. Like, you're just like, every time I check my phone, I have an Amex notification with like 100 to thousands of dollars that were just spent on something in the business, right? And then once you get up to $1 million a month, $10 million a month, whatever your target is, then you can go and clean up those expenses, right? that was the first thing. I was like, holy shit, I didn't think this was going to be this scary scaling, right? But, it works out in the long run. And coming here into December, we're doing pretty well for ourselves. Now, the second thing is to like not work with broke people. Like they are the worst. Like they are literally the worst people to work with. They're not the worst people, but they're the worst people to work with. Because like, look at what we do right now, right? Like our bread and butters, you come to us, you're making 10, 15, 20 to, anywhere between 10 and 50K per month with your agency. You have a few clients, you know how to get results, but your offer isn't really resonating and you're struggling to scale. Maybe you've been doing cold calling, whatever that case may be, right? We can come in, we can build you a better offer, set up a acquisition system, help you place a closer, and triple your company. But the problem is that what we had to learn is that, we had people that we used to work with, that they would come to us and they'd be like, Dylan, like, I don't know what niche to pick. And so then I would have to, like the whole delivery team would have to spend like 3 times the amount of people with 3 times the amount of time with these people. Because instead of just like tweaking an offer, we had to like pick them a niche. And then they like wouldn't know anything about the service delivery in that niche. So then we had to like show them how to get results for people in that niche. Right. And it was just like, it took us so far away from what our core business is. And the other thing is too, is that like, it was so much harder to get those people results. So what ended up happening is we would spend like 4 times the amount of time with person 1, and like they would sign maybe a couple clients, but like the odds of them becoming a big case study was low because they didn't know fucking anything. And then we'd have another person come on and we would spend like a quarter of the time with them and they would be closing $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 per week with our systems. And it was like 25% of the time effort on our end. And then we could take that as a case study and we could use it to like, it was the biggest thing that we had to begin to say no to broke people because they suck. They suck to work with. So much painful experiences. Next thing, systemize before you delegate. Okay. So earlier this year, when we were really starting to get cracking into paid ads, I was like, you know what? I'm going to hire a media buyer. I'm going to have somebody write my ad scripts, all this stuff. Well, that didn't. The media buyer came in. They didn't really understand the company. The copywriter, I got these stupid ad scripts. I would post the ads. I would get absolutely just fucking blamed in the comments. And they weren't really converting. They're like basically at a break even, right? And the media buyers are like, oh, if we're at a break even, yeah, but like, no, you can be at a 4 or 5. Like right now we're at like an 8x row from the front end. Right? Like you don't have to be at a break even, right? Then I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I fired everyone. Okay. After firing everybody, I went in there and I just got into the trenches and I built everything out myself. I was like, okay, this is the funnel that we're going to use. I know more about our customer than any random copywriter or any random media buyer. This is the funnel. These are the creatives, all that kind of stuff. And I just did it myself. And I did it myself for a couple months. And then I got to the point where if you've seen some of my recent YouTube videos where I talk about ads, like, I'm always showing you guys like 5, 10, 15, 20x ROAS on campaigns, right? And then I was like, okay, I've literally cracked the code on how to do this. Now I can build systems and now I can begin to replace myself, right? Because the thing is that unless you're willing to pay somebody like $20,000, $30,000 per month to come in and do something for you, right? The idea of, oh, you're going to hire somebody that's better than you, because that's what I was told to do, is hire somebody that's better than you. Well, that's only going to happen if you can pay somebody like $20,000, $30,000 per month. But if you can't pay somebody $20,000, $30,000 a month because you're bootstrapping your company and you're trying to scale from 6 to 7 figures, you can't do that. So the only way you're going to get actually that $20,000 per month worth of work is if you do it yourself. Okay? And once I learned that, I started to, every time whether it's a service delivery thing, a marketing thing, a sales thing, my business partner and I will go in there and we'll do it ourselves, and then bring in somebody to delegate that work off of our load. Okay, so those were the 3 main things about scaling. Scaling hurts, don't work with broke people, and systemize before you delegate. Now the next thing is with product. Okay, and this is something that like, it's not necessarily that I learned this year, but it's that I did this year. Okay. If you build an amazing product, like literally almost all of your problems go away. And I know that sounds cliche, right? But if you just build a really good product and you have a really good service and you get really good results for your clients, like every single time, like you can be like just shit at marketing, but just like show people like active client campaigns that you're going on. You can be like shit at sales and just be like, when you hump a sales call with somebody and just be like, yo, listen, I don't know anything about sales, but like, I'll show you what the delivery team's been doing this week. And then you just like scroll through your wins chat and then like people buy and they're going to buy more than if you have the best sales script or the best marketing funnel or the best things like that. Right. So I really put marketing on the back burner from probably about April, May to, to the rest of the year. And I was just like, the only thing that I was really doing was kind of focusing on building our product and building our service. Right. Now we're at the point where we literally get a case study per day. Right. Sometimes more. We probably average about we probably average about 15, 16 to, close to 20 per week. That will just come through our wins chat, right? So now I'm at the point where, in 2025, if I go back to, more marketing heavy, right, and begin to build out a marketing team below me, I don't even need to write good headlines. I just need to like loom my wins chat and my client accounts and the funnels that we're building and the conversions and the screenshots of all the client payment processors that are being sent to us and thanking them, and having them thank us for everything, right? Like I don't even need to write a good headline, right? And same thing with like sales, right? Like you don't even need to be that good at sales if your product's so good. You can just show people what you do, and the people are like, oh my God, like I need to, I really want to work with this, right? And so it is so much higher leverage to just focus on building a really, really good product and a really good service delivery than it is to, split test that headline or learn that new objection overcome, right? Or, role play the script just one more time, right? Those are like small levers. Building an amazing product will literally like solve all of your business problems. Okay. Now, the next thing here. So those were scaling. That was product. If you build an amazing product, all your problems will go away. But the last three here are with management. Okay. Here's the next one. And this one is something that I really struggle with actually, which is the difference between 6 and 7 figures is going from player to coach. Okay. Now, I have been somebody who has liked to play more than I've liked to coach. Right? Like I'm always somebody like I genuinely like to be in the trenches, right? Like I would rather just do the marketing myself, just service the client myself, for example, as opposed to, coach somebody or manage somebody on how to do it for me. Because I just get fulfillment out of actually doing the work. Like that's just something that I just like doing. Okay. But the thing is that you can't really do that at scale. And where we're trying to take our company, right, which is $1 million a month in 2025, I'm not going to do that by servicing all the clients and doing all the marketing and doing all the sales myself. I couldn't even do it at our, right? So a lot of this year, and especially in the second half of this year, was me just learning like the principles of management and how to motivate people and all that kind of stuff. And then just fully, grasping the fact that I can either, do what I want and make okay money, right? Do a couple $100,000 per month, right? As actually the player myself, or do what's best for the company and really build a big fucking company by getting out, stop being a player and more being a coach and a manager to the people beneath me that are executing on the systems that I draw up. Okay. Now the next one is that one great team member is worth more than 3 good ones. This is another thing that we learned this year, and which is like, if like you can have like, you'll have one good team member that will like literally outperform the entirety of the rest of the team. Right? Like we've had at times people on our delivery team, people on our sales team, people on our setting team, right? And those that single person has, outperformed the entire rest of the team. And one of the best quotes that I heard, I think it was from Henry Ford actually, where he's like, I like to hire 5 people, I work them like 10 and I pay them like 8. right? And that is another, big thing that we've learned. And so, one of the things that we're always looking for is like our hiring process are like super intense now, right? We'll do like 20, 30, 40 interviews for every single role that we're trying to hire, because we know that if we invest that up front, right, we can find somebody really good, maybe pay them a little bit extra, and they will be able to output 3 to 5x what an average person would in that role. Okay. Now, the last thing that I learned, like the biggest lesson, and honestly, this is one of the more recent ones, and I've actually put out a couple of recent videos about this, is that communication is the most important thing with companies at this size, or really any company, right? Because this is one thing that I had been talking about a little bit recently, which is like our service is at the point where it's like really fucking good, right? Like it is really easy to have our team install an acquisition system for somebody and have them predictably sign, $10, $20, $30,000 per week in new cash collected. They come in, I build them an offer for them. The team gets in, builds them funnels, builds them indoctrination sequences, like all this kind of stuff, right? Now, despite that, ever so often, we still do have people that like want to kill us, right? And one of the things that I couldn't figure out at first is I was like, okay, like here's this one guy. I look at his ad account, like I look at his whole campaign, right? And I'm like, okay, he's got like a 10x return on ad spend. Why is he mad? Right? And what I ended up realizing was that, about 30 to 40% of your ability to provide results, your ability to make clients happy, actually comes down to the physical results. Actually comes down to the the ROAS that your ad account has, right? The remaining 60 to 70% is the experience that you provide, right? And like, how good is that experience, right? And really what that comes down to is how well are you communicating with your client, right? For example, right, if you tell a client that you're going to have a funnel turned around in 24 hours, first of all, that's a really quick turnaround time, right? And if you say, hey, I'll have it turned around in 24 hours, right? But you take 48 hours. Now, 48 hours is a really good turnaround time for a funnel, especially if it's like a 3-step funnel, and there's, all the different, forms and whatnot too, like we do, right? But your client is going to be livid because you took twice as long as you said you would, right? And people get mad when expectations differ from reality, right? And so, however, on the flip, if you go to a client and be like, hey, I'll have your funnel done in 3 days, and then you get it to them in 2, they can be like, damn, these guys are amazing, right? And the only difference is just how you communicated, right? Or flip, if you say, hey, I'll get your funnel done tomorrow, right? But then early tomorrow morning, you say, hey, there was a complication, or hey, due to XYZ reason, it's probably not going to be later tonight, or at worst, early morning tomorrow, and then you deliver it early morning tomorrow, your client won't be mad, right? So that is why, like, the biggest thing that we've learned here is that, or one of the biggest things that I've learned as of recently is just, like, communication is so important. And now that we have such a dialed service and it's very systemized and, it's very repeatable process, like the biggest thing that I'm working on with my team right now is dialing in their communications so clients have a good experience and they're like always happy. Okay. So those are the biggest 7 lessons that I learned from doing the shit we did this year. Hope you guys got value out of it. And if you have any questions about it, leave a comment below. I'll see you guys in the next video.